Welcome to the Spit Take podcast. Joining us today is Rick Rogers
That's me.
and Stephanie Kraus. And of course, you know me. My name's Adam. We're we're talking about our spooky season that just started. We're very excited to get going. So I know Rick's watched a couple of movies recently. Rick, why don't you start us off?
Well, first of all, I watched Transformers the other day, which isn't really a spooky thing, except unless you want to dress up like a Transformer for Halloween. The new animated movie, computer animated movie, and you know, it was really good. I would recommend going to that in front of Joker 2, because Joker 2 is ass, and Transformers is good. It was pretty much like like watching a modern day kind of animated movie. It's probably the best Transformers movie since the 1980s, when they had that rockin' theme song. I don't know if you ever seen that, but
Long
uh,
time ago.
yeah, it's badass. But it's pretty much pre Transformers or pre Autobot and Decepticon, uh, Optimus Prime and Megatron. That's not their names, but they're like minors on this planet. So I'm not going to go too far into it. Now, it was interesting because Prime is kind of like pushing limits. He's the boundary pusher. He has this need to go and find this thing, and he can't tell why, but he's not doing what he's supposed to do in this society. Megatron doesn't like that, but he kind of pushes Megatron to do this stuff. And you didn't like. It was weird because he wasn't evil at first. He and it just kind of came out of nowhere that he kind of turned into an a-hole. He was, and that's the one kind of critique. I don't know if it was like the length of the movie and they were like, hey, let's just kind of push this along, not make this a multi-movie part thing, which there would definitely be more movies. But he's basically just like all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, let's fight him. But before he was like timid and didn't want to rock the boat. But then all of a sudden he's just like an asshole out of nowhere. And then, and then both sides are created. So it's like they were best friends, but then all of a sudden they have two different ideas of things. And it just kind of comes out of nowhere. But I'd say that's the one critique I have of the movie is that the development of that character wasn't the best.
Yeah.
But it still got my little '80s kid heart going. And
I'm
I
glad you said
was
heart.
there with a bunch of kids. I was
Better is
the
hard.
40-year-old man in the theater watching it with a bunch of 10-year-olds, and I'm proud of that.
Well, that's you know what? I liked the first couple of Transformer movies that Michael Bay did. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed them. They were they weren't the best thing in the world, and
They were terrible.
Michael Bay's got his signature special effects stuff going on, and he's recycled his special effects in movies a lot. It's interesting if you watch the side by side videos of those. It's really funny because some of the scenes from Transformers were also used in Armageddon, like some of the B roll, like buildings being knocked down. It's but I actually kind of like those movies, and the soundtrack was great. They had Linkin Park, um, and I like Linkin
R.I.P.
Park, so yeah, R.I.P. Um, but going back to the villain thing that you were talking about, there's been a trend in Hollywood that villains have to have like a backstory and the sympathizing of them. And I was thinking a lot about that the other day because did you watch the movie Cruella on Disney?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well,
You should. It's
let
actually
me.
pretty good.
So it's a halfway decent movie. Yes. The part that I have an issue with is that they created this movie to give the origin story of a villain who skins puppies and tries to get you to sympathize with her. It's kind of messed up a little bit. This is
Yeah, but I don't think in the movie she actually skinned the puppies.
in the movie she didn't skin the puppies, but like she definitely intended to do that in 101 Dalmatians. So
Well, yeah,
you
because
still,
Disney is fucked up, dude.
yeah, well, they're trying to get you to sympathize with the with the villain, but then it sounds like this is what's happening in Transformers. They're like, oh, well, he's got a backstory, and at one point he was good and did this and did that. Like, I don't really need to know any of that. If you're gonna do it, at least do it right. I would say Smallville was an example of that with Lex Luthor. That was probably the only time I actually enjoyed seeing a villain stepping into his own.
Okay, well, I'm gonna add on to this because I don't know if you remember. For any of you who don't know, Adam is my
We're
brother.
live.
So he's
I got
oh,
it
so
live,
Oh,
FYI.
awesome. So we've been around for a while together, and there was a really bad time in my life when things weren't going well. And I don't know if any of you guys watch American Horror Story, but there was, and I hope, Adam, you know where I'm going with this.
Oh, Twisty the Clown.
Yes, Twisty the Clown in the Freak Show one where, he's killing people and maiming them. And I remember sitting outside when Adam and I were smoking cigarettes, and long, long time ago, don't smoke, it's bad for you. But anyway, so we're sitting outside smoking, and I'm just crying hysterically. And I just remember looking at Adam, and I'm like, but I get it. He just wants to be loved. That's all we want. And it turns out, this is before the ending, turns out that's all I fucking wanted was to be loved and cared for. He just didn't know how to do it. So it's like his origin story was actually like he wanted to play with people and like have friends and be loved. He just might have murdered some people along the way.
Yeah, well, he kind of got treated like shit. I didn't he get blamed for like some kid's murder or something, and then he tried to kill himself, and that's why he wears the little clown,
Yeah.
like the little mouth mask or whatever it
Yeah.
was. Yeah,
That's good work.
that was probably the last. Was that the last one I watched? No, I think I watched Hotel after that. But
Yeah.
yeah, you were definitely sympathizing with that clown a little too much, and it was scary.
I
You're
know.
you're not one to sympathize with clowns,
I know.
so
I hate clowns so much.
Well, going back to Transformers, um, I'm pretty sure. Well, I think the Transformers were ass. They were. I mean, maybe at the time, it was like, "Yay, I'm watching Transformers." That's kind of what it was for me. And now, if I go back and watch it, I'm like, "This is ass." The Bumblebee movie was pretty good, though. I will say that. If you haven't watched the Bee movie, that one's pretty good. I'm pretty sure Michael Bay did produce this movie, though. He's all in on Transformers. But, like, yeah, the first Transformers was back in the day when, like, Megan Fox was hot. Now she's a freaking nutbag. So, like, that's what... That was a different time, you know?
it was.
The newest one wasn't that... well, maybe it was pretty good. That's the one with
The Beast.
yeah, the Beast and stuff like that. I think that one was actually pretty good. So
And I
some
like-
of them were good, but like if you go back and watch like the beginning, it's like maybe at the time it was better, but now when I watch it, it's not that great.
Well, and I wanted to see the Beast one. Rise of the Beast is what it was called.
That's what
I
it is,
wanted
yeah.
to watch that one because I was a huge fan of Beast Wars when I was a kid. Like I get home from school and watch Beast Wars, which was like kind of my first real experience with like the using the 3D animation. I think there's maybe a couple more before that, but I used to watch Beast Wars, and that was actually a good show. They did a pretty good job. They had instead of Optimus Prime, it was Optimus Primal. They had Cheetor, I think his name was. It was actually a halfway decent show that I enjoyed because I like Transformers.
And another thing I will say about this is I like that it focused on the Transformers. It didn't go. They weren't on Earth. They were on Cybertron, and I didn't have to get weighed down with all this human story. And we've talked about that with Godzilla in the past. Like,
Yeah.
I'm watching for the Transformers. I'm not really watching for some bullshit human story. which might be good every once in a while, but I really want you to focus on the Transformers, right? Just like in Godzilla, I kind of want you to focus on the monsters there. We're getting too deep into the human aspect, except for when they're actually talking about the backgrounds of the monsters and everything. Like, that's a different story. But that was one good thing I liked about this, is it actually focused on
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. The
I know
words
what you
that I'm
mean,
about
yeah.
to say.
You're just focusing on the robots that are fighting each other and shooting at each other,
Yes,
and it's
that's exactly
it's really
right.
it's selling the toy line well, is what it's doing.
And yeah, Hasbro, baby.
Oh man, that's cool. Now I was I don't know what you're laughing at. I was home the other day. I was home. Yeah, I was home the other day with the kids, and they all went to bed, and I had to do some work. I turned on Evil Dead Rise. We're going to talk about spooky season. I freaking love that movie. That is such a good movie. And like I had a hard time actually focusing on work because of like I genuinely enjoy how creepy all the characters were, like all the Deadites were. What's her name that plays the mom that gets possessed? Man, she
She
is
had a
so
good
good.
time. Yeah, she had a good
She had
time
a
playing that. You could tell. That
yeah,
was
and you can
Alyssa Sutherland Ellie.
yeah, and
Wait,
you
is
can
this the
see
newest one?
She looked good
Yeah.
too.
yeah. This is the newest one, and it would you could see where Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi had their input in the movie and where their production skills really came through. I thought it was excellent, like such a fantastic movie, and we talked about it as like one of the top movies of last year in a recent
It is.
podcast. It was probably the best movie of 2023. I don't think 2023 was a very strong year,
Godzilla.
but like so I watched Godzilla -1. I liked it. I don't think I liked it as
Whatever you're
much
about
as you
to say,
did.
you're wrong because
I'm
it
saying
was
I
the
don't
best
think I
movie.
liked it as much as you did.
It was the
That's
best
all.
movie last year.
It was not the best movie.
Weird shit here.
It was.
Well, I was trying to find Evil Dead 2, but Evil Dead 2 wasn't streaming on any of the channels I
It's
had.
on Plex. You got to download
Yeah.
Plex.
So I don't have Plex.
Me and
Oh,
my
I
daughter,
see.
my 12-year-old daughter, watched Evil Dead 2 because she wanted to watch more horror movies. I'm like, well, I've been trying to get her to watch Evil Dead 2. I'm like, there's only one movie to watch. Number one. I got sidetracked from that villain sympathizer thing, and I want to get back to that because I got a good one. But Evil Dead 2 is like the funniest movie I've ever seen. And when I watched it this time, it's probably been like 2 years since I watched it. I laughed so hard from beginning to end. I just didn't realize how it's just slapstick comedy the whole movie, but like the new like the
It's good.
reboot of Evil Dead and the Evil Dead Rise is so far from that. At the same time, there's similarities as well, but the one thing that it has in common is at the end there's an uncomfortable amount of blood, and I'm satisfied by it. When I watched Evil Dead Rise, it's just the whole movie is just fucking chaos. And then at the end of the movie, you should have watched it by now.
Just gallons
she's
of blood.
she's fighting this freaking monster thing, whatever, with a chainsaw, and there's just blood up to your knees in it, and you're just sitting there watching it like you feel like by the end of the movie you were just in a fight watching this movie. That's how intense it is, though, because the movie is pretty intense.
It was a very intense movie, but the thing I love about Evil Dead 2 was it didn't create the horror comedy genre, but it definitely set the standard for it.
It did.
And it gave birth to so much more. Cabin in the Woods, which was a fantastic movie. That movie was just outstanding, and they even mentioned the Deadites and the rapey tree in their on their little board when they're doing the bets and everything. That's such a good movie, and Brad Whitford, he's awesome. He's great in everything he's in. Chris Hemsworth, that was like a big one for him that got him the part of Thor. But that was a great movie that also blended horror and comedy together while also kind of being very meta about the horror genre.
That's like
But
on my top
Broke
10
the fourth
list,
wall
for sure.
pretty much. What are you saying,
Yeah.
Stefan? Sorry.
That like Cabin in the Woods is on my top 10. Like I can watch that over and over and over, and I think I pick up something new every time.
Well, it's got so many fantastic things. I mean, first of all, you've got all the different villains. It's an explanation for why all the horror movies exist. It has Sigourney Weaver in it. And just the one scene where all those guards are standing there with their guns pointed at the thing, and then the elevators open up, and all the monsters come rolling out at them and just destroy them. Like, one of the most epic scenes that's ever been in any type of horror movie. I absolutely love that movie. But again, I think you don't have Cabin in the Woods without Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, Evil Dead definitely played a role in a lot of other movies, I think. I think a lot of movies took from Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2. One part in that movie that I really enjoyed was Henrietta. She, and I believe that was Raimi's brother.
Yeah, that
was in a suit for that.
it was
and-
Ted Raimi.
Ted Raimi, and he did such a good job. I don't know if he did the voice or who did the voice. It was so good. And then when what was it when she lays him down or whatever by the basement, and she's pushes open the door and pulls him in.
Yeah.
And then there's just blood shooting out of it, and he's just still holding on by the legs. And
It's
that was
just over the
closer to end
top.
of the movie, and yeah, there's just nothing but blood gushing out. And I'm watching this cracking up, and I'm pretty sure my daughter's looking at me like I'm freaking nuts.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the first time she realized that.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. But my daughter made a dad appreciation TikTok today, so at least she loves me. But like,
Well, even when you go back to Ash vs. the Evil Dead, which had a 3-season run on Stars, which is still one of my favorite shows, when they returned to the
should've kept
cabin,
going.
they should have kept going. But when they returned to the cabin, he ends up confronting Henrietta again. So he ends up fighting her again, and it's a much grosser scene. And it's gross. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it now.
But, like,
Just-
his chops, Bruce Campbell's chops in that Evil Dead 2 movie, his facial expressions were so good, and he doesn't get enough credit for his face. I don't know if he took more like acting class or whatever he did to improve his acting from Evil Dead 1 to Evil Dead 2 was fantastic, because it just worked with the comedy, but at the same time, the craziness of everything that was going on.
Right. Well, and I absolutely love what they've done with the Evil Dead to carry it on and everything. And I wish they had done more of Ash vs. the Evil Dead, because that show was just everything you wanted it to be from episode 1, which was just right at the very end, where he takes the chainsaw and cuts off the old lady's head, and they're like, "How does it feel to be back?" And groovy, like, just I got chills at that point, because I was like, "Man, Ash Williams is back."
Now, I do want to mention something, a segue here. The Necronomicon, I believe, was put in Jason Goes to Hell because they happened to be filming Army of Darkness on the same lot. So they actually put the Necronomicon in Jason Goes to Hell, Friday the 13th. And going back to where you were talking about how villains have this backstory, and I got this idea by listening to somebody talking about this too, and it's like, you're absolutely right. Like, so Jason Voorhees, he's this mentally handicapped kid at Crystal Lake getting freaking picked on and stuff, and then then they pretty much kill him, and then the mother rightfully goes after all the campers. And then Jason comes back as this evil monster, and it's kind of like he's not this dangerous killer everybody's talking about. He is a scared kid that got picked on and murdered and is afraid of everybody and thinks everybody's trying to kill him.
Yeah.
But people don't look at him that way. They look at him as, oh, this is this crazy psycho monster. Especially when he was in space.
Well, he is. Well, to your point of the Necronomicon being there, the fan theory suggests that he is a Deadite, which is why he can't be killed. So there's a little monster in him. The Necronomicon did something.
For all of us who don't speak this language, can you please explain what a necromonicite? What?
Book of the Dead.
The Necroharmonica.
It was a book that was created many years ago by rivers of blood from the dead. And so they used it, the rivers from way back when, before history was even written, to write this book.
It's a book bound in flesh and inked in blood.
Okay, what
Inked
is
in blood from the rivers of blood.
Created
Back-
by the Dark Ones.
Yeah. And so I got my journal has a Necronomicon on it.
It raises the army of the dead.
So
That's
yeah,
one of
when
the
you
keys.
read it,
This is like coming from that Evil Dead movie, right?
right?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm just like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about right now.
Yeah.
It's Evil Dead.
And you have to say certain words with the book to get the Deadites to come out or go back or
Yeah.
sleep, whatever.
Okay.
So
yeah, totally lost there.
you-
I don't do gore.
you should-
So
You should watch
I
it.
don't
It's not
either.
like gore though. Like
Yeah.
it's blood, but it's not like real. It's like Kill Bill blood.
No, the 2013 remake had some kind of I don't know if it was there was some gore in it that made you kind of wince.
Yes.
And it's been a while since I've seen that. Specifically one with a pencil, part with a pencil. But usually, yeah, it's not like crazy gore. Like, what's that movie, Terrifier, which I'm
Terrifier,
never
yeah.
going to see. Like, I'm not a big fan of, I'm not a gore porn person. Hello, cat, sorry. I'm not a gore porn person. It's like, it's not crazy, gore that you got to look away from. It's actually tolerable for the most part.
Because it's very fake looking, to a degree.
And you got to think back in the 80s, they used claymation and stuff for a lot of that
Right.
stuff too. In the second Evil Dead, there's really
It's
no
very
point
tame.
to watching the first Evil Dead unless you just want to watch it. Ash is pretty much a sissy in it.
Yeah.
And there was some gore in that one too. The very first Evil Dead, there was some, and I'm wondering
There
if
was.
that pencil part actually is because I remember that being in the original too. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah.
I feel like, Adam, you made me watch one of them or a portion of one, and
Quite possibly.
the gore in it, I was like, nope, I'm out. Can't do it. It's like those Saw movies, right? Like, I will not watch another Saw movie. I think I saw the first two, maybe.
Which one was that?
Saw?
See, Evil Dead 2 had when he was cutting off the hand, it didn't show it, but it showed the blood splashing in his face.
It was like the face splatter with blood. Like, it was
Yeah.
no worse than Supernatural.
Right.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Didn't
It
watch
kind of
it.
like if you're watching it, maybe you can feel the pain, but it wasn't like you're watching the gore. Now that's why I'm saying probably a 2013 one probably had more gory.
It was
stuff
more
in it.
intense.
The last one, more the Deadite gore than anything else.
Yeah.
So it was like you're watching the dead get slaughtered.
There is the scene with the cheese grater, which is
Yeah.
not a big fan of that one little part, but it happens so fast. But at the same time, you look at it, you're like, ugh, nope, don't want that.
Wasn't there a part with like a needle in the eye or something too? That got pretty close.
It got pretty close. She was trying to get her with the tattoo gun, and
okay.
it got like really close to the eye, and then she just gets her face a little bit, I think.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I got to watch that one again, but I'm trying to get my daughter to watch Army of Darkness now.
yeah, an Army of Darkness is the third part of the Evil Dead trilogy, and it is nothing like the first two. It's not a
nothing
horror
like any
movie
of
by
them.
any means.
It's like
No,
a fantasy.
It's its own thing.
It's like
Basically,
Lord of the
goes-
Rings. Like,
Yeah,
Oh.
Ash goes back in time to the medieval ages, and and he's trying to get the Necronomicon so he can go home and everything. But the army of the dead rises, and there's a big siege at the castle, and he has to fight them off. It gets pretty wild, but it's
still
more of a funny movie.
hilarious. It's so this is how
And it still feels
goes.
like Evil Dead.
It does, but it's like Evil Dead 2. So I skip Evil Dead 1 because that doesn't even count. Evil Dead 2 pretty much rewrites the original. And so, but if you watch Evil Dead 1, Ash is a total sissy, but he is at the beginning of Evil Dead 2. And then he goes completely insane. And then by the end of it, he's turning into the superhero. And then Army of Darkness, he's a complete badass, but a goofball. Like, the characters change because all of a sudden he's a genius who worked at S-Mart, which was not even like thought of in the second one. So they like added on to this character, and he's got all these catchphrases, and he's just this super badass now. And he's super intelligent but stupid at the same time. It's kind of weird.
He's got the machismo.
But like in the series, he's not really smart. He's just an idiot now. He's basically
He's just kind of he's a screw up. That's what he is. He's a screw up.
He like doesn't give a shit anymore.
But he's still a badass.
He drank his brain cells away.
Yeah.
Like he smoked too much weed.
I think it was in the second season. Him and his friends, or him and his friend, are trying to lure out these people, and they throw a party at this bar, and they make these drinks, and I forget what they were called, but it was like a bunch of different alcohols together, and then ketamine. Like,
he's pretty
like-
much the dude that wants to like party and get laid. That's like what
Yeah.
he is in the series. But like in the original, he's like, even in Army of Darkness, he's kind of suave,
yeah,
But now he's just this complete idiot. It's like, how did you get there?
I'm like
Right.
having flashbacks to my fraternity days
yeah. Just ketamine all the time.
and Jungle
Rest-
Juice.
Rest in peace, Matthew Perry.
Yeah, right. Too soon.
Too soon.
No.
Coming up
But
on his
hope-
1 year
Yeah, I
anniversary.
was gonna say it's almost.
But hopefully, I think they are still working on the next Evil Dead. Hopefully, Ash will kind of doesn't have to be a main character, but like
Yeah.
kind of be
Well,
like, I ain't doing it anymore. You know what I mean? Like he's
Well,
done
he was.
with it.
Yeah. Well, he was in Rise. He was on the
Or was he in
recording.
Rise? Oh, he's in the recording. I mean, actually in the film.
Yeah, he was on the recording, and he was the voice telling them not to do it because it was an evil book. So I don't know. Such a great franchise right there, though. I can't wait to
Yeah.
see more. I hope they do more. They're going to do more.
Yeah, and I've heard people say they don't need a lore to Evil Dead. Listen, Evil Dead has lore, okay? And it's very important. So enough with that crap, okay?
And they expanded it in Evil Dead Rise to say that there were 3 books versus just the one we thought there was. They mentioned that
they
there were
have
3.
to, because the 2013 Evil Dead was supposed to be a reboot, but now I think they're like, well,
It's
let's
canon.
take a step back and integrate it in now.
Yeah,
So, which is good.
yeah.
Because I guess maybe it didn't go the way they wanted, so they didn't franchise it. But you got to think, Bruce Campbell's involved in this, so he's going to
Yeah.
be involved in some future movie, at least to die. I think
Yeah.
that's probably what's going to happen, and Ash is going to show up. He's going to be
They have to
super
finalize it.
heroic and stuff like that, but he's going to die and pass the torch. Hopefully with what's their names too that were in the series.
Yeah, Pablo and I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
The other girl. But yeah, it's always funny whenever I see one of those clickbait articles that's like, 5 reasons why the Evil Dead franchise just needs to die. Shut up, you fucking nerd.
Yeah. fuck that person.
Yeah, that guy's an idiot. We want to see more, damn it.
Yeah, I'm totally with it. I mean,
And they weren't. That was supposed to be on streaming too. The Rise. It was supposed to just come out on streaming, but they released it in theaters because it got such good reviews.
but they need to like kind of flesh. Because I think the biggest thing about the Evil Dead franchise is there's so much still not fleshed out. Like
No.
even the Deadites aren't fleshed out. Like in the second one, they're like possessing the whole woods,
Yeah,
and then in Army of Darkness, it's literally bodies raising from the dead, like skeletons raising from the dead. So it's not
Yeah.
like fleshed out really what Deadites really are. They're like whatever you want it to be. That's what they
Yeah.
are.
well, and the comics go into it a little bit more. And I don't know if you ever read the Marvel Zombies versus Ash versus the Army of Darkness.
No.
God, that was a good series. That was good. During the Marvel Zombies reign, they had a kind of one-off, and it was showing the point of view from Ash because he ends up going into their universe and has to fight the Marvel Zombies, and he kills a bunch of them. But that they also kind of establish in there that every universe has a Necronomicon, so there's like just multiple different versions of it, and he takes on Freddy and Jason in a couple of the comic books. So there's just so much that they've done with it. He's taken on the Reanimator. God, what else? I don't know. He's been all over the place, but it's just fantastic.
Yeah,
need to
I'm
keep
sure
going.
it's canon. I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, they say the comic books are canon with the alternate ending of Army of Darkness, where he
Well, I
wakes
remember
up in the
one
future.
of the video games, or the video games being canon too. But it's like they say it's canon, but then is it? But I'm assuming it still is. What was it looked more arcadish. Because there was
Oh.
one video game that really went back into the cabin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then there was like a newer one that was more like cartoon.
Yeah.
It was arcadish, and they made that. They said that was canon.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember the names of those.
It's so
They
long.
were
It
good.
was like back in like '99 or 2000 or something like that. Was like literally 99, 98.
The Evil Dead asymmetrical multiplayer game that came out 2 years ago now. That was a great game. That was a lot of fun. Me and my brother still play that sometimes.
I picked it
No.
up a couple times.
You know what else is a great game? Since I have nothing to add to this conversation,
The
version-
Barbie dress up game.
yeah.
I'm so cool. I hang out on boats with rich dudes every weekend.
Yeah.
Not anymore. It's October.
If I was hanging out with rich dudes, I'd be like, "You got Evil Dead?"
You guys want to go back and watch Evil Dead?
Like, this is boring. Let's go watch Evil Dead.
And that's why you guys aren't invited out. No, Adam? What's that virtual reality game? The one where I could never make it more than 2 minutes.
Oh, Phasmophobia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good spooky season topic.
Yeah. Yeah, Steph. Oh my God, I have recordings of Steph trying to play that game. So the whole premise of the game is like those ghost hunter shows that are on, I don't know, whatever the channels are.
Everything.
But they do like the ghost hunting and they have all the equipment and stuff. So it's kind of the same concept. You go into a house, you're trying to discover what kind of ghost it is. You use all your equipment. It's scary in VR, especially by yourself. It's a lot less scary once you're with other people playing it. But you're sitting there trying to figure out what the ghost is, and then all of a sudden it jumps you and tries to kill you. And it's so much fun. I don't know why. I love that game.
If you've never done VR, you can hear everything behind you in the headset, and you're just
Yeah.
looking ahead, so you can't hear or see anything. So, like, Adam has had me play it a couple times. I think, yeah, I pretty much, like, just throw the headset pretty fast because I'll hear
Oh,
it
yeah,
behind me.
She gets in the house, she hears a couple of footsteps and freaks out. Like, what kind of ghost hunter are you?
Well, not a good
Fucking
one by
Sally
myself.
I
Right.
just play Beat Saber.
We don't need to know about your personal life.
Well, I'm talking. Well, yeah, that's a Beat Saber, but
But yeah,
But-
that one scares me. And those stupid ghost hunting shows, I can watch those and go to bed just fine. But it's like playing that game. I don't know. It like fucks.
it's because those things are so fake. I do watch them though.
I like them.
I watch them, but they're so fake.
I was
They
watching
are.
Ghost Hunters the other day just for like background noise, and I like, what's that guy's name? Zach.
That was Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, Ghost
That's
Adventures. That's on like their 30th season or something
Zach
like that.
Baggins.
Yeah, that guy's such a douche. Like, just listening to him talk, I'm like, with your
He is, but I want
He'd be the
to.
guy
I want to
always
hang
trying
out
to
with him.
piss him off, and he's like, "Hey, you're a shitty father." And
Yeah.
he's like screaming stuff at the ghost to piss him off.
Well,
He's just taunting them.
supposedly, if I'm thinking of the right one, he went to that hell house in like Gary, Indiana, and like lost his fucking mind, and like supposedly like got possessed and all this crazy stuff. I read about it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, they're always sitting there, and they're like, "What was that? What was that?" Like, it's like
Whoa,
half
whoa,
the
did
show
you hear that?
was them standing there going, "What was that?"
Did you ever watch the South Park where they made fun of that? That was a good one. Like, oh my god,
Yeah.
oh my god, what is this? What is this? There's something in the back of my pants. It's got to be ectoplasm. I do love Ghost Adventures. When I lived with my roommate in Oswego, me and her would just sit there and watch like Ghost Adventures all day because we did like nothing else with our lives that time. We were very poor. We were shopping at the dollar store for groceries.
Oh,
And we
wow.
would just sit there. Yeah, we would just sit there and watch Ghost Adventures all the time. And I think we probably watched through every single season at that point, which was like 13 or 14. But
That's a lot.
that was a interesting show.
They're on season 28. I wasn't far off.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
It's
like-
yeah.
They're
it's,
like
crazy.
they're like making haunted houses now. They're
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they used to go to on Halloween. They'd do like a 24-hour one. I think it was this one. I don't know which ghost show it was, but they would go like 24 hours, like to the most haunted places in America, like super haunted. Was it this? There was like something else that went on with
Ghost
it. But
facers.
yeah, that's what I think of every time I see it. I'm like, it's just not as good as Ghost Facers.
Yeah. I watched the one where they went to the house with the Ed and Lorraine, whatever it was. What was that?
Oh
What was
yeah.
that stupid movie?
The Amityville
Um,
Horror one?
No,
No, it
it's-
wasn't the
well,
Amityville.
they were a part of that too.
Yeah.
The La Lorena and the Nun and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it was. Why am I drawing a blank on this movie?
The
I
doll.
don't remember what.
The Conjuring?
Yeah,
The
The Conjuring. Yeah. So they go to the house from The Conjuring, and they're like talking to one of the kids that that was part of the whole thing, and the kid was like, oh, and Zach's like asking them like, and Ed and Lorraine were here and everything. He's like, yeah, and the kid's like, yeah. Well, he's not a kid anymore; he's a dude, but he's like, yeah, they were here for like 10 minutes, and then they just kept going against what we were saying, and we kicked them out.
Yeah,
Like we actually
that's-
got help from other
There's-
ghosts.
There's
people.
actually a possession documentary on Netflix, and they're in it, and it really exposes them
Yeah.
as like,
Yeah.
trying to make it like that so they could sell the book. And they actually had a sex slave.
No.
Like, yeah,
Really?
that's what. Yeah, look it up. They had a sex slave. Like, this was not a good. These were not good people. That's why I kind of like don't watch those movies anymore. So I don't give them money because they were like actually evil, and they were
bad
literally
people.
like people would call them thinking, "Hey, my kid's possessed" or something like that. And
Yeah.
then instead of actually figuring out what the truth was, they'd like glamorize it and film it and make it like very interesting so they could write a book about it and blah blah blah.
They were known con artists.
They were con artists, yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
And the freaking doll was a Raggedy Ann doll.
yeah, right? Isn't that crazy? Like when
Yeah.
you actually see it, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I mean, I will say, like, I know you don't want to watch those movies to give them money, but they were pretty freaky. Like, they were scary. Like, those movies still scare me. So,
Well, I liked the other ones, Insidious, the other James Wan
oh,
movies.
yeah.
I like the Insidious movies. Those were pretty good. I mean, what was it? Skeleton? Was it Skeleton or something like that? The Skeleton Key or something
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. That
That's
was
like a
one of the Insidious
psychological.
movies.
No,
It was
Skeleton Key was in Insidious.
there was like Insidious, like the skeleton key or something like, or the key. It was something with a key. And it was like the early days of like the old psychic lady and everything when she was, you know, ghost busting, I guess you can say. Um, that those ones were not as good. Like once they stopped following like the family, like those ones weren't that great. And then there was another one, The Red Door, I think that came out not long ago. That, from what I heard, was pretty good, but I haven't seen that one yet. I saw the other ones though, and the first Insidious movie scared the shit out of me,
Yeah.
and there were a couple of things specifically that I didn't, that made me very uncomfortable. One was the Black Bride, like I think it was like
Yeah.
early in the movie. It shows her down a long hallway, or him, her, whatever it was, like holding a candle down a dark hallway. That shit haunted my dreams. The other one was like the red demon showing up behind the mom. That scared the
Yeah,
piss
that's like the scariest part. I don't really watch horror movies to be scared. I just find the movies interesting. Like a lot of times these horror movies don't really scare me, not anymore.
Yeah.
But like Smile, and they got that new one of that coming out.
Yep.
Like I didn't really care for it because like
They
it was
showed scary stuff
obviously-
in the trailer.
It's like, oh, that somebody's just sitting there doing this. That's what's scary.
I didn't see
But
that
it's
one.
like not really like I don't know. I didn't think the story was that great. It was very generic, but like people were creeped out by it, and that's why it made money. But when I actually watched it, I was just like,
Well, it looks scarier when I watched the trailer, and then I realized that all the scary moments are in the trailer,
In the
and
tra-
then
yeah.
I kind of, and then I
That's
was like,
totally it.
I was like, well, I know it's coming. I was like, some of these would have been great moments if they hadn't given them away. And then
But-
they ruined everything at the very end of that movie with the fucking CGI demon
the
showing
demon was what ruined it. Yeah, but what was actually pretty creepy for most of the movie, and actually is pretty interesting concept, was Barbarian.
up. Barbarian.
Did you watch that one?
No.
Oh, so, this one I suggest one. I think it's on Hulu or something. It came out last year, I believe, and so basically, this house is basically a Airbnb, and in the basement there is tunnels, and so like they'll open the door, but then the door will shut. Something keeps shutting the door to the basement, And who is the guy that plays in that? He's in a lot of stuff, but like the monster in that is kind of interesting. And I guess maybe it's interesting to me because I'm a therapist who works with trauma, because it was basically a monster that was created out of generations of trauma. Or I wouldn't even say generations of trauma. Yeah, generations of trauma. Yeah, it was created out of generations of trauma. And so I'm not going to ruin what the monster is, but it actually was kind of interesting, but it's like, kind of like, yeah, right. But like the actual tunnels in the movie, like there's no light or anything. It's just dirt walls and everything, and the monster's down there with them in these like little kind of little spaces where you're running through the tunnels, and they get like lost in the tunnel and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, that did kind of creep me out. I was on the edge of my seat because I've imagined myself in this tunnel with a monster chasing me, and I can't find my way out. And you're like
Yeah.
deep underground.
It's giving me like very much It vibes.
I could see that.
Yeah. You know what movie pissed me off that I watched this year? That I think it came out earlier this year was Exorcist Believer. That movie pissed me off. God, I love The Exorcist. It is one of my all-time favorite scary movies. Everything in that movie is executed so well. And I was excited because I was like, all right, I feel like they're going to breathe some new life into this with Exorcist Believer. And Act 1, everything seems to be going good. The girls go missing. They're trying to find them. Act 2, they find the girls, and then they're like being in the hospital. They're like and then it starts going downhill a little bit because instead of being very subtle like they kind of were with The Exorcist in the beginning, where they were, it was very subtle changes that happened with Reagan. And then going into the third act, they were like, okay, now we're going to exorcise these girls with our community, and they get the neighbors together to exorcise the demons out of these girls with a disgraced nun who got an abortion and all this wild stuff. And I was like, this is just not good. I was like, they just did such a terrible job. They did bring what's her face back, who played Reagan in the original movie, and the mom. They did make appearances in the movie, but it was just not. It was not good by any means. So I was disappointed.
Yeah, I want to watch the original one again. It's been a long time since I've seen that one. Now I don't know if Lana wants to watch. I think that one would probably give her nightmares but I remember watching that one. See, this is what's crazy. I've been watching freaking scary movies since I was like 3 or 4. My parents, who were not the greatest parents, actually took me to the theater to watch these scary movies. I remember,
Yeah.
I think it was Critters 2, and the Easter Bunny was the dude in the Easter Bunny outfit, and the critter like eats him from the inside out.
Yeah.
And that haunted me for a long time. I'm like, why would my parents bring me to that? I don't even remember being in kindergarten yet.
Yeah.
But Poltergeist, I watched that alone at age 9, and that's still to this day one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. Well, so with The Exorcist, what was actually way better was the Fox series that went on for 2 seasons. I never watched the second season, but the first season was actually really good, and it continues the story from the first Exorcist, probably the third Exorcist, but they continue the story a little bit, and Gina Davis is in there, and I'm not going to give spoilers, but Gina Davis is in it. It does follow the family. The guy who plays Cameron in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, he's in there. But the whole premise of that, so it was I think 24 episode season, but the whole premise is one of the girls who's Reagan's daughter is getting possessed and everything by this demon, and throughout it, this priest is trying to help her and free her from this demon. But then you find out there's other demons that are collecting organs to become super demons, kind of, and it's like an episode of Supernatural, to be honest. It's all this crazy shit going on, and then you see how badass the demon that possessed Reagan really is, like later on in the show, and it was fantastic. They executed it really well, and it didn't get enough credit because the second season they go to Brazil and they start, the 2 priests go to Brazil and start exorcising demons and stuff, and it's a different storyline, and that's where it just failed. But the first season, if you watch it, it is really good, and it is a good continuation of everything, and unfortunately this Exorcist believer shit makes it not canon, so that's unfortunate.
To check it out. One movie I wanted to mention, I watched, was it yesterday? And I know I'm pretty well on in my review because people agreed with me in my little TikTok review. It's What's Inside, which is on Netflix. Now, it's these friends from college, and they get together. One of them's getting married or whatever, I don't remember. But one of them brings this machine, and this machine can have anybody switch bodies with each other. So he has everybody play a game where they switch bodies. Everybody switches bodies, and there's like 6 or 7 of them there. Everybody switches bodies, and then you have to guess who's in whose body. And when I first watched this, it's like all these characters are very unlikable. Like, I almost turned it off, but then I stuck with it, and stupid shit started to happen. And with my demented sense of humor, I was like, okay, I actually like this movie now because it's funny what's happening to these people. and
They're playing Who's Inside Me.
Well, they're playing Who's Inside Me, but it gets really
Also played that
Like-
game in college.
like
Poor.
I'm not even gonna say it, but but like when something happens, you literally you drop your jaw, and you're like, oh shit, they're fucked. And then like, but after that, it's like I started to actually liking some of the characters after like shit started to go down, and then there was a big twist ending too, and you got to kind of pay attention to what they're talking about to understand the twist ending. But I would actually recommend watching it and sticking with it because it's so funny when these horrible people or the people that I don't like got their comeuppance. It's like, man, I like watching people I don't like get fucked over.
I watched Tarot.
Interesting.
Did you guys see that one? Tarot?
No, I know the premise of it. I think I saw the trailer for it.
So it was not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it was interesting how they did it. There were definitely some like jump scare moments in there. And then there's like this twist at the end, which like honestly, I don't really remember, but my girlfriend Nikki was texting me because she saw it the next day. She's like, I don't understand how so-and-so escaped. And I had to like explain it to her. So it's like one of those movies where like it was an interesting concept and they could have done it a little bit better than they did. But I would definitely say like if you're looking for something just mindless, like it's not bad. The effects are good.
Yeah.
Well, one movie I gotta watch, and I haven't watched it yet, but apparently, if you've been following along with the whole P. Diddy thing and doing a deep dive with that, by the way, all of us conspiracy theorists were right in 2020. And if you're following along with all the videos and shit that's actually coming out, or that is resurfacing, and you're looking at them differently, with him, Kevin Hart, and some of the other celebrities that are very closely associated with him. So Blink Twice is supposedly, so the director and writer is Zoe Kravitz, who's the daughter of Lenny Kravitz, who is a famous rock star from the 90s. And so you got to think she's seen some shit. And apparently the movie is pretty close to what the music industry is really like, is what they're saying. And as you if you've been kind of going down that rabbit hole of these videos resurfacing and stuff like that, it's like, oh, I believe it. So it's like, I got to really watch this movie because literally for some people, it's like a real life horror.
Yeah. I haven't really paid too much attention, I'm not going to lie.
I don't understand what they're talking about with the lube. What's going on with the lube?
Oh, he had a deal with whoever for baby oil. So he would get unlimited baby oil coming in, and they would do these freak-offs, but really what it was is he would blackmail people into doing sexual acts with each other because he'd videotape them and stuff like that. And so he'd get all this baby oil for all that stuff. Like, dude, it gets deep. Like,
yeah,
we ain't gonna turn this into a conspiracy theory show, but if you go down that rabbit hole, you're not like, I almost do not want to listen to any music now because it's like, who's not connected? Because there's a lot of people that are showing up in these videos and at P. Diddy's parties and all this stuff, and that are saying really weird stuff in interviews and stuff, and it's like, everything's kind of ruined. But like, also, like, when you actually look at everything that's happened, now that people are actually taking a step back, all these rock stars were getting with 16, 15, 14-year-olds, and Hollywood. Jerry Seinfeld was 39 dating a 17-year-old who was still in high school. Yep. It's like, wait a second now, like, can I even watch a movie or listen to music now? It's almost like everything's ruined now. But there are some people that speak out, that have been speaking out against it. Surprisingly, Courtney Love. And so, like, but it's like the people that die and the people that speak it out against it, they're the ones that are made to look like the crazy people in our eyes. Which is kind of weird.
Yeah. I'll have to deep dive into that and give you my
Yeah.
first notes.
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
So,
But-
Steph, you overcame your fear of clowns yesterday.
No, absolutely, I did not. That's a bold-faced lie right there. No, so let me just back up. I'm gonna tell you, the first time I saw it, the new It, not the Tim Curry one, because I refuse to watch that because Tim Curry is terrifying. to
It's so
me.
good.
No,
It's good.
It's
no,
like 6 hours of goodness,
I'm
Yeah.
just not gonna
except
do
for the spider part. That was kind of
it. Oh yeah,
not good effects, but
I think I watched like 2 minutes of the original on like TBS, right, where things are like edited, and I was like, nope, turned it off.
that's how I watched it. I think it was on USA or something
Yeah.
back in like '93 or something like that. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
sat
USA
there.
loves that movie.
I sat there and watched like all 6 hours of it in one day. I was like, "Will this movie end?" I don't know. I'm very into it though.
Nope,
Like I
2
was
minutes and I was
watching it, and I
out.
was into it. Like I don't know, but I've just always loved horror movies. So
I have a deep, deep fear of clowns, and don't therapize me because I don't know where it comes from. But so the new It comes out. I'm dating Frank at the time, and it's in theaters. And he goes, "Do you want to see this?" And I'm like, "Well, not really, but I guess I'll go." So I go. The entire time I'm sitting there with my hoodie on, up like to my eyes like this, having anxiety and panic attacks. Like I could barely breathe. I made it through. And he's like, "How was it?" I'm like, "I don't know, fucking terrifying." So then yesterday I'm over at Steve's house and he's like, "Are you really that afraid of clowns?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, this isn't a joke." And he goes, "It too?" And I go, "All right, let's do it." So we put it on, and same thing, hoodie up, like sitting there under blankets. I'm like jumping, and he's like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize how scared you were." He goes, "We can turn it off." We're already like halfway through the movie. I'm like, "Well, now I just got to do it." But then we ended up getting tired and going to sleep. But yeah, so it wasn't as bad because Pennywise wasn't in it as much. But
I like the message of that movie because at the very end they show you that bullying will allow you to get your way.
that's the one Bill Skarsgård role, though. He did a really good job with that role. But it's funny when I started going to Comic Cons back in 2019. Me and Lana have been going since she was 6, and every time back in 20, she's like 6 years old. Every time there was like a Pennywise Funko Pop or something like that, she had to point, "Look, there's Pennywise." Like she had to make sure I know there's Pennywise. It's so cute.
That's so creepy. Like clowns in general are creepy, but then to put them with like, I don't know. But
But they had to because that's the friendly view of kids. So he took the shape of a clown
Right.
to appeal to the children
I don't.
that he wanted to eat every 26 years.
What child likes a clown that looks like that? I don't understand it. If you were
Well,
like,
it's
come
a
to
demon.
if
Like,
Well-
he was like, "Come to my sewer," I'd be like, "Nope, I think I'm good, sir. I'm good." You're not
I
gonna
wish
hurt
that
me."
I got a balloon.
I wish that the whole movie was as creepy as the first 10 minutes of the first It movie,
Mhm.
where with Georgie and the drain and everything. Like
Yeah.
that was unsettling and uncomfortable to watch him do that. But it was so perfect. And then it like nothing matches up to that throughout the rest of the movie. I liked the movie. I thought it was good. Finn Wolfhard, for some reason, continuing his trend of being in everything 80s.
Oh, John Ritter was in the original It.
He was.
Aw.
Miss
What
John
I-
Ritter.
What I will say is bringing up Tim Curry. I think Tim Curry is one of the greatest actors of all time. I mean, I think going along with our spooky theme, we have to talk about Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Annette O'Toole was in it too.
She was. Yeah, Lana Lang and then Martha Kent.
Yeah, Martha Kent.
Yeah. But yes, you're right. Rocky Horror Picture Show is a fantastic movie.
I
Love that
mean,
movie.
I
This
think
is
the first half of it is good. The rest of it kind of
It gets
boring.
weird.
Yeah,
it gets
once,
weird.
once they get to the musical scene at the end, it's like I just turn it off. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's-
this is dumb.
It's
But
two different
was that
movies.
Susan Sarandon and Who else?
Barry Bostwick.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think that's the reason I like going, and I just like going back to '70s movies and stuff too, because these actors are still going, and it's like you get to see them when they're young and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of why I like going back and watching. Oh, Jonathan Brandis. That's why I like going back and watching it, watching watching movies like Rocky Horror Picture Show. Tim Curry definitely like.
Yeah.
Seeing how young and like he's almost, I think he's like almost immobile now.
Yeah.
But the thing about Tim Curry though, and the stories I hear is like he really loves his fans, and it's like there's actors that like don't give a shit about their fans. Trust me, I know, because I go to these conventions and stuff, and you see the ones that are just like, okay, just take your autograph or go away, and you'll see the ones that are like shaking your hand and grabbing your shoulder and happy to see you and stuff like that. And Tim Curry is apparently one of those that are like, I wish I could meet him and tell him how much he means to me, and because some of these people, when you meet them, it's like it means a lot to them to hear this from their fans, and it doesn't matter how many times they hear it.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, Tim Curry is great in everything. Muppets Treasure Island, he was fantastic in that. When he played the character in Psych, when he was on that episode where they did the American Idol thing, that was a great episode because he was basically playing Simon Cowell and just being a dick to everybody. But he did the character so well where he was like an actual dick. It was so funny.
You like turned into a penis?
Yeah.
He was just
I'm trying to do a penis.
He was a penis.
Tim,
He was an actual penis.
he turned into a penis.
I think,
If you haven't seen the show, that's what it's about.
He was a penis, and he was judging everybody.
I think like Rocky Horror Picture Show was what got me into, like, I've always loved Tim Burton movies too, but I think that's what also got me into like liking that kind of like weird,
Bizarre.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you're not normal horror movies. It's like Beetlejuice, Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, like all those movies, Addams Family, those, like, I love that genre because it's like funny, but it's creepy. And like, I think he's doing Wednesday, the second season also.
Yep.
So I'm like super pumped for
I
that.
couldn't get into the first one.
What? I've watched it like
I may have to try to
times.
watch. Well, it's just
liked it.
like it's just like it's not the Addams Family. It's not Wednesday.
No,
it's a
it's
completely different character, and that's my thing. Is like I think that's why I don't like watching. It's like this isn't Wednesday. This isn't the Addams. The Wednesday doesn't have these powers
Well,
and shit. Like,
And as good as Jenna Ortega is, she doesn't hold a torch to Christina Ricci playing.
oh yeah,
playing
Christina Ricci, that deadpan look
Yeah.
when she's torturing Pugsley is awesome.
Wait,
Yeah.
have you guys? I started watching the series Yellow Jackets. It's on Plex, and I think it's on Netflix
I think
too.
it's on
but-
Max, isn't it? Or is it on
Yeah,
Netflix?
yeah.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, and Christina Ricci is in it, and her character in there is the same, like that very like psychotic looking character. But you're just like, what are you gonna do next? You guys need to watch that if you liked her as Wednesday Addams. That was a good one. It's
Interesting.
psychological and fucked up again, but like definitely worth it. But yeah, I mean, she was amazing in the original Addams Family, but I think Jenna Ortega did a great job, and she's taking over as. the
I'm not
new
saying
Winona
she
Ryder.
doesn't do a great job. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to watch it and imagine her as Wednesday Addams, and that's not my Wednesday Addams. Like,
Right.
You have to.
I grew
separate.
up. I used to watch Nick at Night, Munsters, and Adams. I don't know if it was Nick
Yeah.
at Night or it was on during the day, but like I used to
Yeah.
sit and watch the Munsters and Adams Family, like the old ones and stuff like that. And then I've seen the movie so many times. Adam's
Yeah.
Family 2 is a Christmas movie, by the way, and I've seen them. Christopher Lloyd and like there's so many.
Yeah.
I've just watched them so many times, and I do love them. I have them as one of my
They're
things
great
on my
movies.
patches, and I love the characters. It's just something. I'm just part of the fandom. And then when I watch this, it's like, to me, it's not Addams Family, and
It's the
I
woke
wish
version.
they'd call it something else.
Yeah, but well, they did. They called it Wednesday.
Well, not be that character, you know.
I
Yeah.
know.
But I did enjoy Sabrina.
Yes, love. I'm sad that there was like no ending to Sabrina. It just stopped.
Hmm.
There's no closure on it. That's another one I've watched a million times, and it did get a little weird towards the
Hmm.
end with like the clay guy who is like the king and like marrying her and all this stuff in the alternate universes, whatever. But they should have. I thought somebody was gonna pick it up and finish it for us, and I don't think anybody has yet.
Oh, Harry Anderson, Night Court. Um, he was the judge in Night Court.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh, what were you just talking about?
Sabrina.
Sabrina.
Sabrina. Yeah. Well, I think it's like I actually preferred it to the sitcom because the sitcom was kind of cheesy to
Ugh,
me.
I hate Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah, it was cheesy to me, and I couldn't watch it. I
Yeah.
couldn't. I don't know. I don't know how many seasons it got. It seems like it was
Too
on
many.
forever.
Too many.
With that and the other one with the witches, uh, and I really preferred that Netflix version to that, and that's
It
why
was,
I actually
yeah.
like it.
It was dark and disturbing, and I loved
Right.
the spin that they had on it, where they were worshiping hell, not this like, I'm gonna go and change my clothes and go to high school and fall in love. Like,
But I think that was probably closer to the comics.
yeah, no, the new one,
The new one was probably
yeah,
closer to
yeah,
the comics.
yeah, absolutely,
And that's probably why it was good. The sitcom wasn't like it was like we use the same names as the comics, but we're
Yeah.
making it into a silly sitcom.
right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. I mean, that sitcom was horrible, and if I never have to watch that again, I'll be excited.
Yeah.
And I love witches. Like, we all know this. I'm a big witch person, so.
You're weird about witches.
Charm.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
the
that
other
was
show I was thinking about.
trash too. Charmed was trash.
Yeah, I never got into that. People are into that. I think it's just because they were attracted to them. But I tried watching. It. I was like, this is terrible.
I
I
think
did
like,
see them at Comic-Con though.
not
I
Shannon
didn't get there.
Doherty.
I think Alyssa Milano's a freaking
She's a nut.
nutbag, but the but what's her name? Rose McGowan and her don't get along. So, but yeah, all three of them were. I believe all three of them were. I know Rose McGowan. I saw Rose McGowan
Yeah.
was there. That's what's crazy about a Comic Con. I'm standing there. Lou Ferrigno's standing. Like literally, they're just walking around because they're just chilling. Lou Ferrigno's standing next to me and the $6 Million Man, and they're just having a conversation. But they like walked right in front of me and started talking to each other. And then you have Rose McGowan over here, Jack Skellington over here, and it's like that's what's crazy about a Comic Con. It's like all this stuff's going on. I just hang out where the celebrities are at and talk to the celebrities. But like,
How were the supernatural celebrities? Were they like all really kind, or were they?
for the most part, they were cool. I don't think, and DJ Qualls and his husband Ty Olsen
Mhm.
were awesome. Who else? And Jensen's kind of a. I love Jensen. Jensen, I love you. I love you. But he kind of didn't make eye contact. I had to like talk to him to get him to look at me. But
Interesting.
Jared is amazing. Jared's
Yeah.
like here's the thing. I prefer Dean, but Sam, like going back and watch, Sam was pretty much, a very interesting character at the beginning of Supernatural with the whole demon blood thing and everything. So I don't give him enough credit. I just feel like after that arc ended, he got kind of boring. But I prefer Jared to Jensen because Jared is like very like
Yeah.
he's more social.
Yeah.
And you like if you go to these which you guys are welcome to come with me next time, if you go to these two, like they talk about how Jared's the one that starts all the shit, like he's the one that like does all the pranks, or like they'll be sitting there at the table and then they'll put a shoe up with the Castiel and start funneling his balls while he's trying to keep a straight face or something like that. Like he's doing all this stupid shit.
Who's Castiel? That's I feel like he would be fun.
He's pretty cool. Yeah, he's very straight. It's like I didn't know how to take him when I actually talked to him face. Like he was cool, but at the same time, he was kind of emotionless. But he like talked to me though. Like he had a
Yeah.
conversation with me. So he was cool. Yeah, him and Jared were really cool. But Castillo, Misha Collins was funny though when he had his panel though, because he'd really goof around with the questionnaires and stuff like that. So yeah, he was pretty cool. Yeah, I definitely recommend going to one of these. I know Mary, what's her name? Mary Winchester. I think the second time I creeped her out. First time she loved me. Second time I was just like, "Hey, I just met you. What's up?" And then she's like, you know, like, who is this guy?
That's awesome. Sorry, I know that went off topic, but I just had to ask because I remember seeing all your posts about it.
Oh, I can talk about it all day. I can talk about
All good.
Supernatural all day.
Oh, good. I think that we can save that for another time, though. I think that we're ready to wrap
So
up.
anyway, Supernatural.
Shut the fuck up.
I mean,
I'm tired.
Yeah, it's been an hour. Any last words?
You know, it's witching season, so I feel like everybody should go out there, blow your cinnamon, watch Practical Magic,
You
get
like
your
to blow
tarot
a lot.
cards read. Yeah, shut up. I heard that. Oh wait, Halloween costumes. What are you guys being?
3-hole punch Jim.
Oh my god,
You got
A
regular Jim
dad.
and then 3-hole punch Jim.
a dad.
A dad. A
boring.
poor dad who can only afford costumes for his children.
Well, mine
My
might be
daughter
great.
does the cosplays.
Yeah,
Adam knows my costume.
I know. You're going to a villain party. And what are you?
I'm going to be a bee.
Oh, sweet.
Should I say the rest of it?
Yeah, say the rest of it.
So I'm going to be a bee. My partner that I've been doing duo costumes with for many years is going to be Macaulay Culkin from My Girl.
Oh, okay.
So,
I like it.
yeah.
Is he gonna like have like an allergic reaction? Like, is he gonna like have like
Oh,
red
puffy.
around his lips or something like that, or
Yeah, I'm going to try to figure out how to make little welts and stuff, and then
Okay.
I'm going to have a mood ring that I'm going to wear around. And it's either going to be a really big hit or people are going to be really offended. Either way, don't really care.
No, it should be a hit, and anybody that is offended should fuck off, and they're not '90s kids.
Yeah.
I don't leave the house, so I don't really dress up. And if I go, like if I go to these conventions, I'm wearing my vest with all my patches on it and sleeveless shirt so I can show off these guns.
There you go. I don't have children, so I still go out and party. So there's that.
We're going around the neighborhood trick or treating. It's my boy's first Halloween.
Oh yeah, I forgot you have a son.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
You had a baby?
I did it all by myself. My wife didn't help at all.
God, she's so useless.
All right.
All right.
right, well-
That's it.
Yeah. Well, Steph, thanks for joining us on the show today, and we hope to see you again soon. But
Yeah.
from all of us over at Spit Take, that's it for us. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Level up, guys.